Yo people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another video. And listen, it's time to get down to business. Now, as I'm recording this, I'm fresh off a night out. That's why I'm dressed as this way. But as it comes to you bright and early in the morning, the official team will be released in terms of who is boarding that flight, whose passports have been checked, whose documents and paperwork have been signed, sealed and delivered to catch that flight to the US. And I'll be going through the names that don't make it. And it's very much 2020 for them. They must stay home. Now, let's go through my team that I would take to the US, and then you let me know in the comments when the official team comes out if my team is on point and correct or if it's way off the mark. In goal, it's very predictable, very easy. It's the three goalkeepers that we have, that we attain. It's Kepa, it's Stolina, and it's Bettinelli. We don't have any other goalkeepers. I personally feel like this area is a bit weak going into pre-season because I don't really rate Kepa as a number one. However, that is the option and the direction the club has chosen to go down. Maybe Pochettino, maybe a lack of funds. I don't know. Maybe the market. Maybe they just don't really trust the goalkeeping market. They don't see it as a floor raiser. I look at Onana going to Manchester United. That deal is now done, and I look at him and I think to myself, from a cross collection and penalty box dominating standpoint, he's clearing Kepa, and from a distribution standpoint, he's clearing Kepa. So those two areas for me, he's better at Kepa than you go to shot stopping. And I'm not gonna disrespect Kepa. He does stop shots. He does. But obviously when it gets to the top corner, it can be a long day. So we'll see. But that goalkeeping department is a little bit of a sticky one still. Stolina, if he turns out to be, Courtois 2.0, at a young age, then we're sorted. But we have to see him in pre-season. So I'm excited to see what he can produce. If he comes up with some masterclasses, some jaw-dropping saves and does a madness, suddenly we might be actually promoting him to a place that we didn't, foresee. In defence, it's strong. It's a strong defence. Badiashile, Silva, Trevor Chalobah, Chilwell, James, Gusto, Cucurella, Fofana, Ian Maatsen, Ampadu, and Levi Colwill. Those are the defenders I would take on this pre-season with Poch. No Malang Sarr. Malang Sarr, 100k a week, overpriced, overpaid. Your ass is staying home. Do you know what I'm saying? No need for you to be on this tour. We've already got enough left-footed centre-backs, and we're very much healthy and ready to go in this department. If we're talking about players to watch, because I'm combining this with top 5 players to watch in pre-season. Stolina gets a shout, but there are, a couple of notable, really important key players that I am really going to be watching out for in pre-season in this defence. One of them in my top 5 is Malo Gusto. Really high priority. I'm watching him because, of course, we don't get to watch Leon every week. He's now at Chelsea, and we know that Reece James struggles with injuries. We know that he's had a scan coming into this tour. We're going to see a lot of Gusto next season. Even if we're managing Reece, we've got one game a week. I'm expecting to see quite a bit of Gusto, especially if you look at Reece James's potential versatility to maybe go into midfield if we struggle to, acquire and to really fill out that position, as we'll get to in a minute. Maybe Reece James could, you never know, play as an inverted fullback or as a midfielder at times. You just never know. Don't rule it out. He has shown the qualities before in previous teams like Wigan or Flex. So Gusto, really top priority. And the other player in the top 5 that's from the defence is Ian Maatsen. Ian Maatsen, if Ian Maatsen can absolutely smash this pre-season to pieces, then Cucurella's position becomes very sketchy. Mainly because Chilwell has signed a new contract, obviously, during the season. But also, if you look at, Pochettino flying fullbacks, players overlapping, getting crosses in, getting forward and attacking, that's not really Cucurella's strength in comparison to Chilwell and Ian Maatsen. Ian Maatsen's a great ball striker. He's a great crosser of the ball. I am really excited to see Ian Maatsen. I think his potential is higher than both Chilwell and Cucurella. It's not to say that they're bad players, but I think Ian Maatsen has the potential to invert and to also overlap. I think technically he could clear the both of them. The only thing that you have to watch out for Ian Maatsen and why he's on the list defensively and aerially as well, is he going to be able to handle duels aerially, because he's quite short. So Ian Maatsen's top 5 to watch. He's in that defender list, and if he can ruffle up a few feathers, his contract expires in 2024. We need him to pen down a new contract, or we're going to have to sell him. If he signs a new contract but he doesn't quite do enough, then maybe he goes out on a loan. But it looks like Pochettino is excited to see him. I'm excited to see him, so he's in my top 5 as well to watch. In midfield, we are a little bit light. We're cause light, right? The drink he drinks. Enzo Fernandez, Gallagher, Carney, Lewis Hall, Santos and Cassidy. Now, we need to add a midfielder to this, right? And we know Caicedo is hopefully something that can get done this week, and he can be in a Chelsea shirt by the time, hopefully, we even play Brighton on Saturday. So hopefully, with an asterisk, we put Caicedo in there. We pray. But with that roster, that is, that's not strong enough to go into a Premier League campaign. Even if these guys impress, I still want guaranteed, quality coming in, at least one midfielder. A lot of people want two, but I want at least one. And if you are getting two, then, I'm looking at Amrabat's and maybe a bit of experience. I've spoken about Paulinho before as well, just a different profile, different age category as well, because they're quality players, they're good players, but also they bring experience. Now, of course, Lavia has been spoken about. Personally, I've seen the Lavia links from Fabrizio Romano reported that yesterday. I personally don't see Lavia choosing Chelsea over Liverpool. If Liverpool sell Fabinho to Saudi, to a Saudi team, then that starting 11 spot for Lavia is wide open in terms of a 6. He's the only 6 that they truly have. Thiago can't sit. He's not a 6. Henderson could be leaving. And the rest of them, McAllister, Szoboszlai, these, Elliott, Jones, these guys aren't 6s. So Lavia will be the deepest player. He'll most likely start for Liverpool. He's not going to start ahead of Caicedo if we sign him, and also Enzo in that double pivot, in that duo. So he'd be sitting on our bench. I'm assuming then he'd choose Liverpool over us. So for me, Paulinho has been linked with West Ham. Still Amrabat, no club, even though, good age, potentially good price. But I'd like potentially a second midfielder, but it depends on how these players do. In this top 5, from the midfield, I have Andre Santos. I have Andre Santos in my top 5 to watch, top 5 players to watch from this midfield. He is the player that has got a little bit of, backing behind him. It seems that he could stay in the first team. There's a lot of reports, people saying that he could stick around for the season upcoming. Cassidy, the more likely player to go out on loan. There was a link with Leicester for him to potentially go out on loan. Maybe a Premier League loan if he's going to be starting, or a Championship loan. Depends where he's going to get more minutes, what style of play. I want Cassidy to go to a team that is very technical. I think physicality-wise, there's not many worries. He's very tall. We've seen a lot of headers being scored from him in the under-21s, for Italy. We've seen that he's got a big frame and he can be quite strong and powerful. That's not my worry. Technically though, I want to see that passing, I want to see that press resistance, I want to see those attributes to see what position suits him best in the midfield. Is it first phase, second phase, or the final phase? With the goals that he's coming up with and his aerial ability, final phase is what I'm leaning to, but again, I want to see a proper loan to really establish that. So Cassidy, I think, is the most likely to go out on loan between him and Andre Santos. Andre Santos has played the 6 before in the top flight of Brazil, so that's why there's even more heat around his name, because potentially he could be the second deputy to a defensive midfielder that comes in a Caicedo in this first team next season. You could see a lot of Andre Santos, so there's people that are very impressed on the inside. Lewis Hall's obviously in there. He has played left back for us in the first team. He could be part of that defense, but I just stuck him in the midfield. But to be honest, if you're looking at Lewis Hall and you're saying actually he's played mostly defensively as a left back, left side centre back, I think on his debut, and also left wing back mostly, then he doesn't even count as a midfielder, which makes this midfield even more, in terms of numbers, it tightens in terms of numbers. It's smaller. So we really have to get a midfielder, and that goes without saying. So go into the attackers now, and this is where my final, couple of players in the top 5. We have Mudryk on this plane. We have Sterling on this plane, Armando Broja, Madueke, Jackson, Diego Morena, Nkuku, and Angelo. These are the final players on this plane, and the final 2 players on that top 5 to watch for me, Armando Broja and also Diego Morena. Now, I'm going to go into Broja first, of course. I think it goes without saying. Ace coming off the big injury, but really want to see how he recovers from that, and really want to see what type of performances he can put up, because he's got a little bit of everything. I've said it before, when he first broke into the team, the performances away at Brentford, the goal against Wolves, he's a player that back to goal, looks like he's got a bit of strength. He looks like he has more control over his body than, say, a Tammy Abraham, who kept kind of falling a lot, kind of buckling to the ground. He had a big, tall frame, but couldn't seem to really control it. Broja doesn't feel like that. He feels like quite a stocky, steady individual. He gives me Diego Costa vibes, right? He's still very young for a striker. Obviously, not everybody blows like Mbappe. So in terms of Broja, I think there's something there. He's got the tenacity, he's got the physicality, he's got the shithousery as well, and he's actually deceptively quick as well. And I was saying that in the Brentford game, we did a lot of counter-attacking away from home in that match. He got in behind a few times. Some of the decision-making could have been better from him. There were moments where he didn't really take and seize the opportunity, but I think there's something there in that player. Not a lot of people agree. Some people think that, there's nothing really there and he's overhyped, but if he can recover from the injury, I'm actually quite intrigued to see what he can do. So Armando Broja is on that list. And Diego Morena is on that list, obviously from the Benfica B team, because he could potentially be the fourth winger. You never know. If he absolutely rips it up and he shows us that he can add something different to the category of wingers that we have. We have Mudryk, we have Sterling, we have Madueke. They're all in the team next season. We have a fourth spot. Now, of course, are we going to go for Franca? It looks like we've, pulled out of negotiations for the young Brazilian. He could be going to Crystal Palace. Are we going to get Cherki? It's not done. Who knows? Is he going to be a 10? Deputy 10 to Nkuku most likely. Would he plow out wide? Who knows? So, you never know. There could be a slot for this kid if he impresses in pre-season. So that's why he makes my top 5. So to finalize my top 5 players to watch, and that's my full squad as well, my top 5 players to watch: Gusto, Ian Maatsen, Andre Santos, Diego Moreno, and Armando Broja. Of course, if Broja impresses, then maybe people will feel like we don't need to go for a big name striker. If Ian Maatsen impresses, then maybe Cucurella could go, and we have those two left backs there, who are obviously, Ian Maatsen on the books is a lot cheaper than Cucurella and obviously didn't cost a penny. The fourth potential winger, Andre Santos, the potential secondary DM, and Gusto, of course, really important for Reece James' rotation. So every person on that list has got serious, point to prove, and really could be vital in our season in terms of the rest of our transfer business, but just game to game going throughout our season as well. There could be a lot of responsibility, surprisingly, on these players if they perform in pre-season. So there's honorary shouts. I think Angelo, everybody's excited to see what he can do, but most likely it seems like a lot of noises that he'll go out on loan. Carney, of course, he makes it on the honourable shout list. So does Sterlina, so does Lewis Hall, so does Cassidy, so does Jackson, so does Nkuku, and so does Levi Colwell, because they're either new to the team, new to the club, or they're young players that could potentially, surprise someone and, bump up their position and their place. But that is what I'm looking at right now. That's my team to step foot on that flight. That's my 5 players to watch for pre-season and my reasons why. Didn't really want to go with obvious names. Like I said, in Nkuku, people are going to be excited. Jackson, people are going to be excited. But I think the 5 names I've given are names that could shake the way that we operate in the window if they impress. And like I said, they could be key players, surprisingly, for us in critical times of the season, especially that Christmas period where there's a lot of games, thick and fast. If these guys can be reliable, can perform, can have, Enciso at Brighton type impacts, then, suddenly now we're looking pretty. These are the depth pieces that people will judge us on. They're the players that come off the bench or could potentially start some games that people will say we're either actually stumbled upon some special talents or we're looking really lightweight and really screwed. So we'll see what happens. But let me know in the comments if my team is correct. The sheet is on the screen. Let me know what you think of the top 5. Who are your top 5 players to watch for pre-season? And I am off to a little break with the family, but I will still be uploading just from a different location as I continue to enjoy my pre-season. And yeah, until then, make sure you smash up the likes, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time in a bit, people. Peace. Thank you.